What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Opening Edge. I almost forgot the title of the show, which is totally fine. I'm your host, Roz, here in Savannah, Georgia, of all places. We'll get into that later. I'm joined with my two Stooges, Witz and Rube. Thank you guys so much for being here on this Sunday as we record. How we doing, boys?
Doing pretty good. Good golf this weekend.
I can't ask how my friends are doing the way you two looked at me after I just said, "How you doing, boys?"
You didn't say it like that.
Yeah, it was a different kind of how
like
we doing, boys.
What do you mean?
You said it like you were reading off of like a script every week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it's like we're trying to play back the script for every episode we've done so far because, again, I'm in a different headspace, different state. We'll just go with different state. Then we're trying to get a good episode to you. A lot of losses, a lot of big wins. Actually, we'll get into it in a second. I just merely wanted to know how you guys are doing on this lovely Sunday. Still no football. 14 more Sundays till football, though.
Yeah, getting closer. Golf was good this week. Finally got a winner. I didn't say it on the show, but for my own being, very happy about that. Outside of that, I mean, we got a long break in the NBA, which is starting to piss me off a little bit. But outside of that, doing good. E, thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, we're good friends for a long time. Wits, now I'm curious about how you're doing. Obviously, it's very important to me, Wits, that you're doing well.
You know? Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Had a very productive Sunday. Just
Well, that's
a little
waste.
chipping and putting.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. I thought you were like around the house doing chores. I was like, well, it's Sunday. How about you?
I did that too. But
how about you lay down? Let's call a spade a spade. Sundays you lay.
I do normally lay, but not this Sunday. We had a lot of action going on, so nobody really cares how my Sunday went. But I figure we start off with the RBC Canadian Open. I know Rube, big winner, Bobby Mack. I don't want to say against all odds, but what a great story, right? He's got his dad on the bag this week as a caddie. He's a guy who's got a couple worldwide wins, but has not cracked through on the PGA Tour. So, I mean, I'm sure that you watched the entire round today, but I mean, what did you guys think about Bobby Mack pulling all the way through?
I just want to clap and say Shanghaiing my hosting duties. I love it. But I'm going to tell you, that's a great story about the dad. But how about the fan getting to be a caddy for CP Pan, which is also just two great stories in one tournament. Again, I'm with you. Congrats, Robbie MacIntyre. Great story. If you got him 80-1, you're rich like Rube. You can ask for Rube for some Venmo money at any point. I'll give it to you here. And just go after it. No, it's a great tournament. Rory didn't win as a fucking 4-1 favorite. You can't ask for anything better.
He got pretty close. He got a little testy there.
He finished in the Rory zone though.
It's in the
top
Rory
5
zone
with never a chance to win.
He's the backdoor top 5.
There was a little sprinkle of time there, about 2:00 Central Time where things were starting to shift a little bit.
I've seen this song and dance before. The 4 through 7 start from Rory. We've seen this story before. He comes from the back. It's Rory's gonna win. Starts hot and then he just.
It's never enough.
Yeah, like flatlines.
It's just like
to the end.
Where was that round 1, 2, and 3? He's not even the focus here. Let's celebrate the man Rob and his dad, that's just a MacIntyre full of money now because you keep it within the family having a dad as your caddy. But that's probably the biggest long shot this year. I read Rube to win outright.
Definitely not.
No,
but good try.
Maybe Vicenzi.
I think we had Nick Dunlap win at 300-1.
Could have been our boy Vicenzi saying it was his biggest win outright. That's again reading Twitter with the quick knowledge I can take. But that's either way for Vicenzi and Rube. Nice work. Way to get it done.
Yeah, it was a good win. I think I actually didn't watch a ton of it. I was assisting building a deck at my in-laws today,
which sounds awful.
Was not on the bingo card of things we'd bring up on this podcast. But
I was gonna say because I don't think you're a carpenter.
No, I'm not a carpenter. I'm a good assistant. I'm not a sawing through wood and whatnot out there, but try and help out where I can. But no, I was following on my phone though, saw the end of it. It got a little bit spicy there at the end. Robbie Mack opened up a pretty decent sized lead. I think he was up 3 or 4, making the turn, then made a couple bogeys, and Ben Griffin got hot and actually was down to 1 shot on the 18th tee, but he made a comfortable par on 18 to put it away. And yeah, it was a good win. Always a good tournament. Those Canadian fans always get into it up there. So Feels like it's a bigger tournament than, at least up there, than maybe it feels like here. But once you put it on, it feels like it's really got that juice. So it was a good tournament, and obviously getting a win makes it feel that much better.
Yeah, it was a great win by Bob Mack. It's kind of funny. The guy's got like 4 different names depending on how you want to put them together.
I do like seeing Bob Mack. Bob Mack is that's a fun one.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of ways to spin it.
Yeah, and it's
Bobby. You can always get the Bobby in there.
Yeah,
Bobby McTease.
And the Scottish accent is great. Having his dad on the bag was awesome because it's not his full-time caddy. His dad's actually a greenskeeper back in Scotland. He'd called him, had a little bit of an emergency. So it was a awesome tournament. Yesterday about midway through the third round, you had Ryan Fox had a 4-shot lead. He was 14 under. Bob Mack was 10 under, and they flipped in about a matter of 45 minutes. And there was a lot of chasers in the field today. You had Tom Kim start off with back-to-back birdies. You had Victor Perez made a little charge at the end. Ben Griffin, who was not like the showing when Rube had him. I think it was maybe it was last year or I can't remember if it was a few months ago.
Last season, he pissed one away when we were on.
Yeah, I would say this was complete opposite. He played great, had a chance to win on 18. He was 1 shot back. Bob Mack had a great approach shot, I think to about, 13 or 14 feet. But yeah, Rory had Corey Connors make a charge. There was a lot of guys around the mix, but Bob Mack pulled through his first PGA Tour win. And yeah, like Rube said, it wasn't a U.S. Open, so it was a little bit different, but you can kind of feel the intensity in the air. It was just a little bit more than like a regular tournament because it is like a national open. So, seeing Corey Connors, decked out in the all red was awesome, but it was a good tournament. And we got U.S. Open coming up in a couple weeks here. So it was a solid day.
Yeah. So I guess our host is going on mute here. So Xander, what's the next topic you want to talk about?
Next topic I want to talk about, Rube, is the NHL. And I know that, as a group of 3 guys, we haven't notoriously been really into hockey, but I think throughout the playoffs, especially with your and Roz's future bets, definitely become more of a fan. And last night was actually the first time I sat down and watched a hockey game from start to finish. And I've got to say, it was pretty exciting, right?
No.
You think about
pretty horrific is the other word you were looking for.
Witz.
What?
What's wrong with you?
What? I said the hockey game was exciting.
Dude,
what's wrong with that?
You fucking treasonous bitch. Rube, you know what he's doing.
I don't know. I was just saying.
I was not doing that
for my own sake. It was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was exciting, but it was.
It's exciting
as a Rangers backer. It was.
What do you mean? The team, one of the teams didn't score the entire game until the 6-on-4 empty netter. How's that a fun? It's like watching a fucking. It's like a one hitter in baseball. That's how I felt about last night's game.
Ethan, it was a 1-goal game for the majority of the game. It was exciting. It was game 6. It was an elimination game.
2-0 the majority of the third period. This Rangers team has literally been in utter collapse since their 1-0 lead in game 4 or game 5, whatever it may be. I mean, pucks on the net. Is that not the only, I don't know much about hockey. You're right, but pucks on the net. And Florida seemed to want to get that done more so than the Rangers for the last 3 games. And that's why, maybe I'm salty. Call me salty, whatever it may be. Fucking shit.
Yeah, I'm salty. I'm salty too about it, but yeah, Xander and I can have an intelligent conversation here. At least make it sound like it.
What do you mean?
I think the Rangers, they really leaned on really hot goaltending for a long time in those playoffs, and they were able to get a few counter chances and give up 1 or 2 goals a game and maybe sneak out 3-2 victories in overtime. But I think this Panthers team has been the class of the East throughout this playoffs, and it really just started to show. I think you can't just win in overtime every game. It's going to come back to you eventually. And the Rangers, still great goaltending. They didn't get blown out at all. It felt like they never really were in some of these games, but the scores don't lie, so they really were in them. But I think the Panthers just kind of outlasted them. They were the better team. It's a bummer being on the Rangers. I thought we were going to make a run at that one, but I think the better team did win out at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was. It just felt like the Rangers could never really get anything going. I mean, even they were down 1-0 going into the third. but just after watching the whole game, it didn't feel like the game was within reach. And, obviously, one play here or there, right? The game could have turned out differently, but I think Florida, more or less, the few games that I watched really had control the majority of the time. So, I didn't watch much other hockey outside the last couple of rounds, but it seemed like Florida was a better team. But, as a couple of Rangers backers on the show, you would have liked to see, a little better effort on the offensive end, but they just couldn't really get anything going. So Florida moves on here. And as we sit here right now, the Oilers have a 2-0 lead on the Stars at the end of the first period.
Rube, I pulled a U. I took them 5-1 for the rest of the game. And the Dallas Stars. You did it earlier to me in Game 4, I think, of the series. Game 3 of the series. We're hopping back on board.
Live bet Roz during the show.
Live bet Roz. Hey,
live bet Roz
2 days ago.
3 days in the future.
Well, the Edmonton thing is one of those like where you bet the exact future. So I have the Rangers meeting the Oilers in the finals. And to be fair, Edmonton was the team I was probably most worried of the two. And for them to have a 3-2 lead, 2-0 lead now in Game 6, Connor McDavid clearly playing more like Connor McJesus. It's kind of deflating. And it just, Witz did say, if you wanted to go back on any of our podcasts, he did say Rube and I should wait our turn for the New York trauma. I just saw, and I know it's a little outdated with how the Yankees won in 2009, but it's been 100 seasons between the Mets, Yankees, Rangers, Knicks since they've won an NBA or have won a championship. So the state of New York, it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, I think we're joining Xander in the pit of misery with New York teams. So maybe we all learned our lesson here and we stay away for the rest of our lives, which we probably won't. But
since Puck Talk's also coming into an end and we don't talk about baseball, I heard the Mets are hitting all-time low as well with their relief pitcher getting tossed halfway through the game by the third base umpire and then literally being kicked off the team because he said he plays for the worst organization in baseball.
Well, that's not what he actually said. If you go back, it was a little bit of lost in translation. But yes, the Mets are a dumpster fire.
I don't think you have to fix the translation when it speaks volumes about the organization. Maybe for his sake.
Yeah, it kind of would have worked, but it wasn't.
It does work.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to more of a life lesson here with Steve Cohen, that money can't always buy happiness, right? It can make life a little better, but it doesn't always solve all your problems. Last thing I do want to bring up, because we've got, with the Oilers looking like they might be heading into the finals here. Do we have any thoughts here on the Conn Smythe Trophy odds here? I can list off a couple guys. I know that we've got Connor McDavid right now is the favorite at around, plus 350, plus 370, depending on what book you look at. But I think if you like the Oilers here, I think Leon Draisaitl at plus 850 is a guy that, might make a little bit of sense. I know Connor McDavid is kind of the face of the sport, but you look at the goal scoring throughout the playoffs, it's actually been a little more even than during the regular season. And I think a guy like Draisaitl, he does happen to outscore McDavid and the Oilers can take the cup. I mean, you're getting almost, 2.5 times the odds on the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. So also looking at, go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. I don't know if you have the answer. I don't know if they treat goalies like quarterbacks for these kinds of awards or not, because I'm seeing Bobrovsky at 5-1 here. That makes me nervous, but I do have takes. I just didn't know if you knew if goalies kind of get QB kind of style treatment.
I don't think they do in, these types of matchups, because you're going to have two teams that, are relatively powerful offenses. So, I know that you've got Bobrovsky's at plus 500, but I'm looking at I think the top 10 guys on the odds, and the goalie for the Oilers is not even listed. I should know his name. I don't off the top of my head, but he's not listed in the top 10 in the Conn Smythe Trophy odds. So we get a high scoring series. I mean, guys like McDavid, Draisaitl, Alexander Barkov, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe. Pronunciation might be a little bit off. I think
no, you hit it with Verhaeghe.
I was gonna say Tkachuk. I'm not so sure, but
that's you're looking at. We got you.
Yeah, close enough. Close enough.
We got.
I was like,
pretend.
I don't
need to
remember
pretend
that.
to be someone we aren't here.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I'm actually impressed
name.
going 2 for 1 or 1 for 2.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember that name on the broadcast last night, but that's kind of what it looks like. But yeah, Kachuk.
He was injured. He's coming back in the finals.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. But
Well,
yeah, I think
Rube, I don't
those
know.
are.
Yeah. No, you go, Whit.
I was gonna say those are the top few guys I was looking at. I don't really have an opinion on the series because obviously the Stars could still come back here and force a game 7, but just to looking at a little bit into the future here.
Yeah, Rube, I actually don't like McDavid. I think McDavid's having a good game tonight. His overall series for what he's made out to be, like the LeBron James of the NHL, it has been more of a dry settle feel / other members of the Edmonton Oilers. I think Verhaeghe is a sneaky one who for 2 straight rounds has bailed Florida out of certain situations. Not that Florida needed to be completely bailed out, obviously down a couple times to the Rangers, but made it work out. But I think Verhaeghe has some of the most important goals, and I know it's a full playoff award. It's not just the Stanley Cup, that I do know. And I think that plays into some good value. I see him at 20-1, unless I'm completely wrong with, and I'm seeing an extra 0 somewhere. But
No, you're right.
For Hagee and then Reinhart, actually, who I'm not seeing the odds on right now with, so I don't know the number, but clearly if he's not on the sheet I'm looking at, it's way lower than Wyatt Johnson 28-1. So honestly, Sam Reinhart of the Florida Panthers is another guy who has been instrumental to this team. So keep an eye out on Reinhart and Verhaeghe from Florida.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go a little bit shorter odds here, but I'm going to take the obvious Florida Panther here and Sergei Bobrovsky. I think, he's been incredible so far in the playoffs, and I think if the Panthers are going to get it, I think if the Panthers get it done in the finals, I think they're going to play more low-scoring games. Edmonton, don't stat check me here, but feels like they're a more high-scoring team than Florida. And I think if the Panthers do pull it out, which I do think they're going to, I'm going to go with Bobrovsky here. And to be honest, I didn't know what the Conn Smythe Trophy was until we started talking about it here. I kind of put the pieces together, but now I'm all in on Big Bob to take it home.
Give it to him, Bobby. Sam Reinhart,
the second Bob of the podcast.
Reinhardt's 40-1, by the way. So those are, you want to talk deep, kind of witchy, sexy territory. 40-1 for Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, no, you never know. Those are all very interesting, and we'll see what happens here at the end of game 6. I'm just looking at a quick replay. Dallas is at a couple really close chances, but can't quite pull through. So we'll see what happens here with hockey. But I think moving on to the sport that we've covered quite a bit here, we finally got an NBA Finals on our hands. Not for another few days, right? We got to wait a little bit, but Mavericks versus Boston, 1 seed in the East versus the 5 seed in the West. And right now, Rube, it seems like the Mavs are a very popular play, right? They're a team that's gotten really hot. Boston is typically a team that people like to root against, and they've also been a team that hasn't really shown up in the biggest moments, and they really haven't been tested yet. But any preliminary thoughts here on the NBA Finals?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've shared my opinions on this show on what I think is going to happen here, and I don't think it's going to. I'm not really changing my thought here. I think there's a little bit of recency bias going on with how sexy the Mavericks look, so to speak, in that series against the Timberwolves, and how the Celtics looked average at times against the Pacers. I think people are, in my opinion, giving the Mavericks more of a chance based off of one series than I think they actually have here. Not saying the Celtics are going to blow them out of the water. I think there's going to be close games. I think if I had to give a pick today, I'd say Celtics in 6. So I think it'll be a competitive series, but I do just think Boston's the class of the league this year. I've thought it throughout the entire playoffs, even if they looked not so great at times, especially against Indiana. Now they did sweep them, so 4-0 is 4-0. But I think especially if they get Porzingis back, I'm not sure what his status is. It sounds like he's trending questionable to play in the finals, but I think he's an added bonus. But even without him, I think they're just so deep with the backcourt that they have with Holiday and Brown and Tatum, and then just a bunch of athletes off the bench. And obviously Derek White has played fantastic in the playoffs. So, I do think, yes, Kyrie and Luka are fantastic players, probably the 2 best players in the series, at least 2 of the best 3 with Tatum in there. I do think that while some of these Mavericks role players have really stepped up in the playoffs, I just think against a team like Boston, they come back down to earth a little bit. And I think that ultimately is the difference here.
So I appreciate your 6 games. That's what the series price is at -5.5 at -150 for over -5.5. You can get the under at +125. Also, Mavericks +175. I understand what you said about their backcourt. I do really want to reiterate that the actual best part of their backcourt is the Derek White and Drew Holiday combination on defense. Yet that doesn't scare me because they're outsized by a lot when it comes to Luka. Not necessarily saying Kyrie. I am talking strictly Luka, who is right now to me is the Jokic. He's that difference maker, one player who no matter who's getting the ball outside of that is going to play better, and he's going to be able to put up near 40 points a game. And even if he doesn't, they both finished with 36, him and Kyrie in game 6. So Kyrie is playing a level of basketball we haven't seen since maybe the Cavaliers days, definitely not in the Celtics era. This has been a revitalization of Kyrie Irving. And I just, if we've been seeing the Celtics playing down to their opponents, if that's one of the ways you want to look at their playoff seasons, you can't play down to the Mavericks because that team is going to close it out on you every single time. And they're absolutely the front runner best team the Celtics are seeing so far. So no days off. Don't have game 2 off, Rube, because don't let them go make it 1-1 in Boston.
I agree with you. I think they are the best team they're playing, but the Celtics have lost 2 games in the playoffs so far. Haven't really ever been even in danger of losing a series, and I just don't see that coming into an end here.
Yeah, and I think you got a couple interesting betting angles here. I think, like Roz said, +175 on the Mavericks. I think FanDuel's got it right around +190. Celtics are about -225, -230. I think there's a couple ways you can go here, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. If you like the Celtics here, Jason Tatum right now is -120 to win NBA Finals MVP. If I'm a Celtics backer, Rube, can you talk me out of betting Jason Tatum for MVP? Is there, I guess, a reasonable scenario where he doesn't win it if the Celtics win it all here? I know you got Jaylen Brown at +600. Then you got Derek White at 35 to 1, Kristaps at 50, Drew Holiday at 55. But if I'm a Celtics backer, I think I'd almost rather just take Tatum to win MVP. But tell me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the minus odds on a guy to win MVP is always a little bit scary to go after, but I do think that I really don't see a scenario where he doesn't win. Like, I think, if he has a bad series, I think the Celtics are in trouble. So I think, I don't think betting on a guy like Jaylen Brown is worth it. Who's to say, right? Who's to say?
He just won the conference MVP. I just want to make that.
I think, that is a fair point. I think he got boosted a lot by that one game winner. I think Tatum was the best player in the series outside of that. But, I do think that Tatum is their guy. The Celtics go as he goes. Obviously, they have depth, but he's the guy that's going to make those big shots and put up 30 points a game. So, while -120 is not that big of a difference from the, I guess, -220 that the Celtics are, I think it's enough where if you're going to go with the Celtics, that I think it's a decent pick there.
Yeah, and I think looking on the other side, a little bit shorter difference between the Mavs winning at +175 to +190, depending on where you're looking, and Luka winning the MVP at +210. Roz, I think you're on the Mavericks this series, right? Yeah. You're a Mavericks backer.
100%.
Is that enough value for you to take Luka as the MVP over the Mavericks for the series? About 20-25 cents difference. Is that enough juice for you, or would you rather just take the Mavericks?
It is, because it's the only juice. If I just said my statement the last time about how he's the Jokic to this, if they're winning this, it's all Luka. And there's nothing to take away from Kyrie. I think Kyrie, I just don't like any price on Kyrie, because I think it's really more of like he makes an impact in one game, 2 games, and you've been seeing that in every single series. And there isn't any. I mean, how fun would it be to have like a player like Lively win the Finals MVP? I'm sure those odds are absolutely insane. Might be fun to put a couple shekels on that, because he was very important in that Timberwolves series. But at +200 at any value, I think Luka, if you're just looking at, and honestly, even further long shot, I know this is just kind of an out there thought because you've talked about it with LeBron in years past. There's always a chance Luka could be one of those guys, maybe wins the Finals MVP on the other team. I know LeBron's gotten it done one time. I know it's very, very rare. I know only one other player has done that before LeBron. I just want to say he would be that kind of guy. So it would be fun to root for Luka, and he's really gonna be the only option for this Mavericks team to win an NBA title. So I would have to. There's really nowhere else to put your money.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I'm looking at a couple other markets here in the NBA Finals. I think these are always fun at the start of a series. You've got most rebounds, most total threes, most assists. And it's funny, you see Luka and Tatum near the top on a lot of these categories, but I think an interesting market here that I want to get your guys' thoughts on is the most total made threes in this series. So you've got Luka at plus 110, you've got Derek White at plus 340, Kyrie at 5-1, Tatum at plus 850, then you got Kristaps at 18-1. Do you guys have any leans on if you've got any value on any of the dogs here besides Luka, basically at even money to lead the series in threes?
I mean, I don't know if I feel a Celtics one actually in that grouping, Rube.
Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm gonna go Tatum at plus 850. I feel, and you guys can come at me sideways if you feel I'm wrong here. I feel like I've watched a lot of Celtics basketball or postseason basketball, and I think the type of series we're gonna get with the Mavericks is gonna force Jason Tatum to be uncomfortable. And when he's uncomfortable, he's taking more 3-point shots. I'm not saying he's missing them at a higher rate or whatever his field goal percentage is. That I don't have the information for, but he's on the perimeter a lot more in those high stress kind of games where they're going to be closer, where he's going to need to hit big shots to keep him in it. Tatum at plus 850 to me, honestly, is one of my favorite bets. I think Luka seems like the easy option because that guy chucks up 10 within the first 8 minutes of the game. But again, we're not looking for the easy way out. We're looking for a different angle, and I think Tatum's actually a really interesting pick.
Yeah, I think I could see that happening. I think my head goes to Derek White. I think just from a volume standpoint, I feel like Tatum does take a lot of mid-range jump shots. I feel like Derek White's a 3 and layup kind of guy. I don't really remember him shooting a bunch of mid-range shots, and I'd say that's if I'm going to go away from Luka, and I'm not going to bet him at plus 110 or whatever it is. He's going to obviously get a ton of attempts from 3, but I do think Derek White at times has been very efficient. Luka could get a lot of attempts, but he could be pretty heavily covered at times. Derek White, with all the different offensive pieces around him, could have some open looks, and he's not shy shooting them. So I think Derek White around 5-6-1 I think is a decent play.
And I did mention Witz real quickly. I did mention that Derek White, Drew Holiday, two of the best perimeter guards as well. So that plays into potentially slowing Luka out there and Kyrie out there. Just added thought, food for thought, I guess.
Yeah, and I was kind of with you, Roz. I think if I was looking at one guy, for me, it would be Jason Tatum, just because it seems like, with the Celtics team, I think he's had a lot of disappointing performances in the past, but he's a guy when he gets hot, he's going to be on the court. He's going to score points. So he does happen to get hot. And like you said, I'm not really sure how the Celtics are going to defend Luka, but you've got two of the better perimeter defenders in the league, right? So if Luka takes a little bit of a different approach, I think you're just going to get more volume with Tatum compared to Derek White. And Kyrie at, plus 550. Could he do it? Yes. But I feel like Kyrie has been very on and off, and not in a bad way for the Mavericks, but he's really been there when they needed him, but he isn't like a consistent force on the offensive end. And if you don't like any of those guys, you can get, Holiday, PJ Washington, Jaylen Brown at 23-1 a piece. I don't really see much value there, but if Jaylen Brown led the series in threes, I think he would have to shoot a lot better than he has been, but I could see it happening. And then I think the other interesting market is top point scorer. Got Luka minus 180, Jason Tatum plus 260, and then Kyrie, Jaylen Brown at 12-1. Pretty big gap. But any leans in that market, I would say it's going to come down to two guys. That's my thought.
Well, really my fault for not having the stats, but there's no way their points per game is that far apart between Tatum and Luka, and maybe Tatum really did have some duds, and I know Luka's pretty consistent, but I don't know, that big of a gap again. I'm feeling. I mean, let me bet a little bit on the Celtics if I'm going to be a fully Mavericks team-oriented guy. There's part of me that's like, I love Tatum in that. And I know there's more players to put your money towards, but realistically, with, again, volume, it is Tatum or Luka. And that just seems a little bit large, in my opinion.
Yeah. I actually am going to go with the Mavericks here and go with Luka. I just think that with some of these game scripts, you're going to get, like, I don't think the Mavericks are going to get killed, but I think they're going to be down. And with that, Luka's going to chuck. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to get a lot of shots up. Whereas I think the Celtics do spread it around a little bit more. I think so far in the playoffs, Luka's averaging about 29 a game and Tatum about 26. So about a 3-point difference there. But I think Luka's scoring is actually down pretty significantly compared to the regular season. Like, I want to say he averaged somewhere around 32, 33 in the regular season, which is a pretty sizable gap. So I think, if he starts getting closer where he was at in the regular season, I don't think Tatum's going to score 35 a game in the NBA Finals. And I think Luka, if you told me he was going to average 35 in the series, I wouldn't bat an eye at that.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff here. Do we want to do one more market, total rebounds? We've got a little bit of a different vibe there.
Is he clear? I was going to say, is Kristaps cleared for this series? I know there was a chance he could have played if they needed to go to a 5 or game 6 in the semifinals.
I'm not sure about that right now. I know
it's early days for us. He's got
to be pretty long odds, because even if he does play, I don't think he's like a prolific rebounder.
No, I'm just curious what they're accounting for
the size. Yeah, I mean, he's 19-1, and even when he was fully healthy, I think Jason Tatum's a clear-cut favorite on the Celtics, and he is the overall favorite in the series at -110. And then you've got the aforementioned Luka Doncic at 155, and then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. You got Derek Lively at 11-1, then Daniel Gafford at 20-1, Al Horford at 60. Jaylen Brown at 60-1. So I think you're still looking here at two guys, but going a little bit down the board. Derek Lively, we've seen him get a little bit banged up, couple weird plays. Does Daniel Gafford, is there any pizza money available if Derek Lively goes down? Gafford's going to be on the floor a lot more to lead the series in rebounds.
I think that's the only way it happens is if Lively gets hurt, which, I mean, he has been banged up, so maybe it's worth a bet because of that. I just think that Gafford, the way that this series is going to progress, I think is not going to see that many minutes, especially if Lively's healthy. So I'll take a shot at Derek Lively here. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes if he's healthy. And then 11-1, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is they just eat into each other's time so much, and you notice that in the games when Lively was healthy, which, by the way, not really a big fan of betting on somebody with the health risk, especially since it's so close. It's a neck injury, not a head injury, so it's not like a concussion.
But I think you're getting a discount, though, because of that. I think that's priced into it.
Possibly. I kind of like your take that Gafford probably will be used less, but again, that's an early series prediction. They do feed into each other's time a lot. Luka almost never comes off the court. Luka feels like the answer to me there. I know it seems like I just look for that plus sign nowadays. I know I used to be a big heavy favorites kind of guy. Rousey favorites was definitely a thing, but Luka, especially down the stretch of the last series, was leading everything in rebounding. And I know that Witz, I love you and Gafford. I think you guys are one and the same. So I know you're probably leaning more toward the big guy there.
It's tough. I mean, he is, the technical starter for the Mavericks, but, Lively's odds are, half as much as Gafford. So I think, an injury would be the only way I could see that happening. And then, we're kind of just taking out the top two guys who do get a lot more rebounds than everybody else, and Tatum and Doncic. So I guess my one final thought here, and this is more a question for you, Roz, if, you're a Mavs backer here, the Celtics have been, I would say, pretty bad at home compared to what they've done on the road here. So if the Mavs are able to take one on the road at Boston, I'm just kind of wondering where their price on the series goes. I think it probably goes down a little bit with them going home. So I guess, Rube, your opinion too, like, if I'm betting the Celtics, do I want to maybe wait until they split at home and go to Dallas for game 3? I feel like I'm going to get a better price than minus 225 right now.
I know, and Rube, you give him shit being like, well, that's like a hypothetical we have to look out for. Here's an interesting, even with the Mavericks taking, say, a split, I know the books will shift it, but the Celtics are undefeated on the road this year in the postseason, and I think that is not completely accounted for, but I think the Celtics have just been playing a better game on the road anyways, and I think it gets just closer to the middle. I think 1-1. I think, the minus 125 range for the Celtics is where it'll be. I don't think they get to plus value down one game, or even at an even series after 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they split, you probably get the Celtics. I'd say closer to like minus 175. Just pure guesses here, but I do think that there's some value in waiting if you really want to bet the Celtics and see if they drop one at home. I'm not going to bet them minus 225, 250 at the start of the series. If I was going to do anything, maybe I would take like the over under games or something like that. There's some of those finals MVP types of picks, but yeah, I think there's some value there. But I feel like even if it gets to that, I think it's hard to bet the Celtics straight up. I just don't think you're going to get the value that you want to do it.
Okay, and you could double up on the Mavericks if they go down 1-0. A Rozzy special. Let's just call it that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a bad play at all. And Rube, I kind of agree with you. I don't think the series price is going to shift too drastically if we get a split, just because of how good the Celtics have been on the road. So I think 175 is a pretty fair number. I don't think there's going to be too many changes because we're not the only people who know that the Celtics play better on the road than at home. So just a little food for thought there. But any other takes on the finals? Anything you guys want to cover that we haven't already?
We got our bet.
I think we hit on it all.
Let it be known in 2 consecutive episodes. Rube and I, $50 straight up. I'm getting cucked, not getting the plus 175. It is what it is.
No, you're not.
But we'll do even money. Confidence is high for the Mavs and the Western Conference, which I really have been backing round to round, as neither of the teams I said prior to the Mavericks have made it to the finals in the West. There isn't much left I got to say. I'm excited, and I think that they need to reconsider how long they keep this wait when there's 2 sweeps or a quick game or a sweep in a 5-game series. But this wait has been a little bit too long. I'm kind of curious to see how this all gets going. Which I got one more thing, not about basketball whenever you're done, but I'm going to let you finish your basketball takes.
I think we're basketball out. I think we just need the series to start now.
I'm with you. I want to give flowers, and we're not big on UFC here other than Conor McGregor, but flowers to Dustin Poirier, who might have fought his last fight, was submitted in the final minutes of the 5th round, but one of the classiest fighters of all time and one of the best outros and goodbye speeches you can get. And then a lot of respect paid by Khabib, Islam, and all these other people at the UFC event. But kudos to Dustin. He's a good guy. I know he's taken my money. I know that. I'm very aware. But he's one of those good fighters you like rooting for.
Yeah, this was a very interesting fight. You've got Dustin Poirier. Has been in the game a long time, right? He's got almost 40 fights under his belt. Was a 5-1 underdog coming in here, but was getting a lot of public money, right? He's a very likable guy. But Islam Makhachev, really for the past 3 years, has been an unstoppable force. Very similar to what Khabib was like when he was fighting, and he ended up retiring with an undefeated record, and is a part of the training team for Islam Makhachev. But what a fight. I mean, you had the judges' scorecards grading it out. I would say a little bit in favor of Makhachev, but I think it was closer than a lot of people thought. And you had the 5th round submission by Makhachev, so he retains the lightweight belt. But it was a great way to go out by Poirier. Kind of a guy similar to a Nate Diaz, was always in there slugging it out to the very end. So it was an exciting night. I did watch a couple of the preliminary fights, but when we got to ESPN Plus pay-per-view, I decided to just follow on Twitter. But yeah, no, those are always fun. I feel like these UFC cards, they come up about once a month. There's a couple exciting things going on, but yeah, Islam Makhachev is the number 1 ranked pound for pound fighter in the world right now. And he's at the top of the game. So that's talking UFC for this week. I feel like it was good to get that in.
Yeah. The big one's coming up. So
Yeah.
might as well tease a little tickle before the big most important fight in UFC.
Before the man himself comes back, I'm sure that we're going to have many Conor McGregor takes when he's finally back into the ring. But Roz,
Great promo, by the way.
It's like the raging bull. It goes up very, very slowly and for a long time, and then it comes to a crashing fall. And that's typically what happens when Roz bets on McGregor.
What a Gray's Lake reference right there. I'm really proud of you.
Gurney, but yeah, if anyone's from around Chicago, they'd know.
Any G name that's the Chicagoland area. Hey, I know he's been drinking a lot, Witz. I saw the same videos you saw on
Roz,
Twitter. I know.
We're a few weeks away from the fight, and this guy's out clubbing, getting hammered at 3 a.m. You know, I know a fight training camp. I don't think that's usually in the agenda, but I mean, are we worried at all about McGregor here? Is he just doing this for a money grab, or is he actually going to be ready to go?
God, I swore on my life I would never bet on McGregor again. It's been a long road to recovery here. Doesn't look good. Do I think that we live in an era where that video may be pulled from actually time a little bit longer ago? They're showing it to maybe make it look weak. Maybe
you never know these days.
You never know. I do want to say you never know. Maybe reverse tactics by the McGregor camp to kind of disarm Chandler. He's a tight guy, Chandler. He's kind of like this box. So maybe they're trying to let him, flatten out a little bit. Doesn't look great, obviously, but it's hard to get really fired up about somebody like McGregor can make it happen. And maybe that's just because of the promoter he is. And I will pay whatever my bet cost is to see him promote because no one else is really doing it in the UFC these days. And so I'm just going to take it. Whatever he's going to be, I'm sure he's the favorite. The odds have to be out, but
I don't know what they are, but if you're going to lay whatever price, it's probably a good sound for the books because McGregor is a very popular guy. But yeah, that's UFC. We covered NBA, we covered NHL. We gave a little shout out to MLB. We want to talk a little bit about the NFL. Is it a little bit too early here? The Bears on Hard Knocks, #1 overall pick was at Old Crow this weekend. That I know every one of us has been to.
I got stuck in Old Crow, actually. They have like an upstairs and downstairs, which is, again, at certain levels of inebriation, they're very difficult to navigate. Just want to make
those stairs are tough, man. I get it.
I didn't know where they were. It's not a matter of
nothing like a good set of stairs.
Nope, it's about finding the stairs. They're in a hidden location. It is not like, hey, there's an attendant leading you. Not for that point, but Caleb Williams having some fun. I thought it was kind of rude that the city of Chicago was having Caleb Williams be part of a chant saying something along the lines, fuck somebody up north, some team up north, they're saying fuck but if people forget, Caleb Williams' favorite team growing up was the Green Bay Packers. So I thought that was a little rude introduction from the city of Chicago, which isn't surprising usually, to Caleb Williams. That was my take on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I don't really care. I think Hard Knocks will be interesting. Like, everyone says, "Oh, you don't want your team on Hard Knocks. You don't want your team on Hard Knocks."
No, you don't.
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean,
really? What's the change?
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it was fun watching Manziel. I was listening to
part of my take this week, and Big Cat, he brought up a good point. He's like, I mean, how much worse could it be? I could get really excited about the Bears watching them on Hard Knocks, and they could suck. I mean, that's what's happened for the Bears for the last 15 years. So, like, what's the big deal about watching them at a little bit of a closer level on Hard Knocks? Like, yeah, sure, why not? I think it'll be interesting. You're going to see Hard Knocks has always been a great show.
A lot of flavorful bucket passes from Williams to Dunzier.
They're not going to show him throwing a bunch of interceptions. So
it's going to be a puff piece for a 5-12 team. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I don't know. I'll be disappointed if they go 5-12 if they're on Hard Knocks or not. So bring it on.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It'll be interesting, and this is one that I think I'll definitely watch. I had one last thing I wanted to bring up on the NFL. I think there's a couple interesting QB battles out there, but I wanted to get your guys' take. A guy that we've talked about a lot on the show in the past, or I say maybe just in our group chat, whatever it was, Sam Howell versus Geno Smith. Going into the Seattle Seahawks training camp right now, you can get Sam Howell at about +2 to 1. And my thought here
to be the starter.
Really?
To be the starter.
I didn't even know they had odds. I didn't even know they had odds.
Yeah, I didn't know. They've got odds
and everything. Yeah. Also, we also got Russell Wilson minus 700, Justin Fields plus 450. So I think these are a couple interesting markets here. Geno Smith in the last year of his contract, and it seems like to me the Seahawks wouldn't have signed Sam Howell unless they thought he might be the future of this team. Geno Smith, great story a couple years ago. Can you guys talk me out of taking Sam Howell at plus 200 to be the week one starter for the Seahawks?
I agree with your sentiment that yes, I think that they brought Sam Howell in for a reason that maybe he's a guy that could be decent for them. But for week one starter, I feel like this is kind of like a rookie. Like, Geno's the guy. He's been there for a while. He'll get the season started and he'll probably suck, and then Howell will come in. So as far as week one starter, I don't really see it. But if Geno doesn't play well, I could definitely see Howell coming in. But long story short, I would lean towards Geno to start the season.
I think Howell's on the list of Witt's quarterbacks. He was curious. He was a little late to the Sam Howell party, even that he went to Seattle. But he's like, you know what? Makes sense. Andy Dalton to the Saints makes sense. Feel like there's a chance there. I don't know, Witz. This is a long stretch for you. Yeah, it's an absolute situation where Geno Smith is going to start the season. I think there's a lot of Howell you can watch from last year that shows he's not ready. I don't think a training camp's going to change that perception per se. So I actually have a lot more fun with the Fields one, because what is the technicality though? If he is a game one starter, does it have to be is it for the quarterback position?
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
It's distinguished by position.
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know if you've been watching the videos of him doing running back drills and everything, and obviously the maybe fake story about him returning kickoffs. But I don't know, the Fields one's way more fun to me, and I think the NFL's known it for 3-4 years now. I think Russell has been cooked for a while. I know he had a decent season last year, but decent on a bad team that needed to put up points at times. Russell has not been the same since the Super Bowl era and the Legion of Boom era. So I don't know why you don't go to Fields, who I think is the more electric, athletic, young, and promising of the two.
Yeah.
When he's not on the Bears, he's athletic, young, electric, and promising.
Yeah, where was that the last 4 years?
That's such garbage, and we'll get text messages up from me over the last 2 years making fun of how talented I think Justin Fields is and how bad the Bears organization has been for him. That is such an easy take of mine that I've had for a long time. And I think it's going to rub in your – I'll show you the text where I said the same thing about Caleb Williams in 5 years when they trade him to a team to be better. I think Justin Fields was about to fucking shank the Bears. Shanghai, as I used earlier.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think Russell Wilson's the shoe-in starter for week one. I don't think he's the better quarterback, though, and I don't think he gives them a better chance to win. So I do think that if the Steelers struggle for the first 4 or 5 weeks, that it's definitely going to be a short leash on Russell Wilson. Like, Justin Fields hasn't been amazing, but by the way, he got a little bit of a
why a shoe-in is my question. There's no difference in money, actually. Neither of them are getting paid beyond the year.
It's just, I think it's just an optics thing.
A straight legacy thing. I just don't.
That does happen for week one starters. Like, okay. A guy that maybe isn't the best quarterback probably is going to start at week one. I think it happens all the time. And I think this is a situation like that. But I mean, Justin Fields, I feel like got a little bit of a bad rap going out of Chicago for maybe undeserved. I don't think he was a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but I think he was decent. The Bears had a pretty good year last year, so I think he's going to get his time at least at some point this year.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. And I guess to wrap up the show, one little final question here: Drake May or Jacoby Brissett, week one starter in New England,
or Milton?
They're both going to suck. I think Drake May is gonna sit for a little bit. So I think Jacoby is gonna start. It's a classic rookie situation where New England's gonna be ready for week one.
New England has to do that. They have to start Jacoby, paying him only $7 million, and just show Atlanta what they should have done if they really wanted Michael Penix and not spend nearly $200 million for a starting quarterback. So I think you'll see Brissett do the bridge. It's kind of a cute bridge because he actually did it in Indianapolis a bit too. Just have him bridge a little. Just a little quick bridge. Let's see what May has. I hear May doesn't seem to be the pick of all the quarterbacks this year, but again, this is before we're seeing any snaps, even preseason snaps. You can talk about their footwork all you want. You can talk about hand size, whatever it may be. But I do think Brissett's bridging him. And again, it's kind of like one of those short leash scenarios where it wouldn't be long before they put Drake May in, like they did with Mac Jones and whatchamacallit and Zappy. So quick leashes in New England.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. I don't think New England's going to be making any noise, especially in the AFC East. But we're going to get into a lot more football here over the coming months. But that is all the time we have here for the Opening Edge, everybody. Appreciate Roz for letting me step back into the driver's seat this week. So unless you guys have any other closing thoughts, that's going to wrap up, I think, episode 4 of the Opening Edge.
Nope, episode 6. We'll catch you next
episode
week, everybody.
6.
Peace.
All right.
Yeah.